a long time. And don't mind my appearance. I just woke up. Whoa, I'm looking bad. Anyways, I don't want to talk too long, but just wanted to say a few words about Adrienne Elise. So, Adrienne Elise is a YouTuber, astrologer. But she doesn't give astrology forecasts for the sun signs, the 12 zodiac sun signs. She's talking on a higher meta level than that. Basically, the direction of humanity in general, and she's very interesting. That's for sure. And okay, so I can't. I'm not going to try to summarize her what she's saying. Go to her channel and listen to her videos, and you can understand it. If you're interested, you can understand what she's all about. So just on YouTube, you can just look up Adrienne Elise. So that's Adrienne, and then Elise, Elise. Okay, the feminine spelling of Adrienne, Elise. Now, feminine from French. Okay, so what do I want to say? Like, she always talks about how there's these supernova souls who are these really old souls who have a soul memory. I guess I have to say a little bit about what she talks about. Who have a soul memory of Atlantean times, the last Aquarian age, when humans had their sovereignty and freedom to use our God-given innate powers to co-create the reality that we want. Um, now, and how that's kind of it's gone away. It's been taken away from us through various mechanisms of control, for the most part. But from all of humanity, it's been taken away from. But those of us who are supernova souls have like a soul memory on some level and remember what that was like, and so we never fully relinquish control, and so that we end up being targeted and contained because we're viewed as dangerous to the control powers and all that kind of stuff. And how it's just like out of like the control powers are just out of control at this point. Pardon the pun. They're just like over the top with the way that they're trying to control all of humanity. It's unprecedented the amount of control that humans are facing right now. Um, okay, so that's all well and good. That's cool and everything. Like I actually really like her. I think she's awesome. I really appreciate her perspective. Now, but I just have to point out, I want to point it out because I'm going to say something going against her, and I don't want to go against her, but um, she seems to be a little bit part of those control powers too, the very ones that she is denouncing in terms of my experience with her. So I actually joined her group. This is a few years back. Like I think you have to pay $10 and you online, and you can be part of these Supernova Soul Tribe sessions, live sessions, where everyone is like connecting through the internet. And see, this is one of the things that she talks about is that the control powers don't want supernova souls to come together because we're dangerous on our own, but then when we come together in groups, we're even like more dangerous to the control powers. So even just coming together online is seen as dangerous, but also really powerful. So okay, so that was cool. I participated in some of her sessions online, and then it involves a live chat, and this is where her controlling comes in. So like I remember I was just chatting about where I live, and somebody asked me a question, and I was responding to it, and somehow I don't remember what the question was, but somehow started talking about the demographics of Vancouver, what the community was like in Vancouver. And I one of the things that I said about Vancouver, it wasn't the only thing, was okay, well, I mean, compared to American cities, or even other Canadian cities, Vancouver really doesn't have very many Black people. As a percentage of the population, there's not very many Black people living in Vancouver. And that's a reality. There's just, if you look at, Toronto or Seattle, which would be the nearest American city to Vancouver, I mean, those both of those cities have way much higher percentages of Black people. Still, I mean, Black people would be a minority in both Toronto and Seattle. But compared to Vancouver, I mean, in Vancouver, they're really a minority because there's not a lot of Black people. There are some, but not a lot. Compared to, as far as I know, every other major city in North America, Vancouver would have the lowest percentage of Black people. It's a fact. No, that's all I was saying. We could expound on that and talk about why that is, or what the ramifications of that, what consider the different ramifications of that. That would all be an interesting topic of discussion. That's not what I was getting into, though. Just making that empirical observation of empirical objective reality. Not a lot of Black people in Vancouver compared to other North American cities. Um, that was not allowed to be said on Adrienne Elise's live chat. Okay? So whenever she talks about the controlling powers and how detrimental they've been to humanity, and how those of us who refuse to submit to control are persecuted and targeted, I mean, she's all on point with everything she's saying, but as in my opinion, she is on point. But uh, her rhetoric, if you want to call it that, for lack of a better word, is undermined by her own actions towards me. So I was kicked off of her live chat and given a refund of my $10 simply for stating objective empirical reality that there's not a lot of Black people living in Vancouver. Uh, to be clear, there's another Vancouver in North America, so I'm talking about the major city, not the suburb of Portland. So I'm talking about Vancouver, BC, Canada. There's not a lot of Black people living there. Um, just that is not allowed. That was not allowed to be said. That objective fact of reality of Vancouver was not allowed to be stated on Adrienne Elise's live chat. So doesn't that undermine so much of what she says? If she's talking all about how we're being controlled, but then we have to just try to rise above that control, and okay, but then when I would just say something about where I'm from, like the demographic makeup of the community where I'm from, that was that was something that needed to be repressed, according to her mind. So isn't she doing the very same thing that she accuses uh, broader society of doing then, with repression and control? Like, how much does she really stand for freedom if she won't allow somebody to talk about just the basic demographics of the community of where they are living and have lived their whole lives? Like, how can she really, like, that's a huge contradiction with everything else. That action of censoring me and not allowing me to speak about that it contradicts uh, her messaging that she has in just about every video about freedom and rising above control powers. She is a control power herself by not allowing that to be said. So I just think that contradiction needs to be pointed out. Maybe she made a mistake. Like, maybe she made a genuine mistake. Maybe she didn't understand what I was saying or where I was coming from. Okay, if she did, then I would forgive her. Like, it's okay, people make mistakes. Or maybe it was on purpose, and maybe she is just a big hypocrite and doesn't really stand for freedom at all. I mean, I don't know. Because she always talks about how important it is for the supernova souls to come together. And then she says, "Oh, if you're resonating with the things I'm saying, you're a supernova soul." Well, I'm resonating with what you're saying. So according to you, I would be a supernova soul. So why isn't it important for me to come together with the others? Like, even as the other supernova souls, according to her, are coming together, I'm not allowed to join them because I refuse to submit to your control power of saying about just not being able to speak the truth about my community. Like, that would be very disturbing to think that she's would actually stand for that, because it would mean that she's a huge hypocrite. And then it would call into question, is she really legitimate with the other things that she's saying? Or maybe it was just a misunderstanding and oversight, somehow a miscommunication, and she didn't get where I was coming from. I don't know. I like to give the benefit of the doubt, but like always when I'm listening to her, there's that kind of asterisk, caution warning bell going off in the back of my mind. Like, and I wish that she would address it, or I wish that somehow it would get addressed. And so that's why I'm making this live stream right now, on the hopes that maybe somehow this would reach her and she could address it, because it seems like it would be a block to healing of the supernova community. That, there's this one supernova soul over here who's, even with the people who say it's so important for supernova souls to get together, they're still isolating this. They themselves are isolating another supernova soul just for speaking the truth about where they live. There's no value judgment in what I was saying. I'm not saying it's good or bad or anything about that. I'm just stating the fact that there's not a lot of Black people living in Vancouver. I haven't looked at the census data, but my suspicion is Kamloops, which is where I'm from, where I'm living now. And it's not a major city at all compared to Vancouver. It's a small town. But Kamloops, even Kamloops itself, the small town of Kamloops, would seem to have a higher percentage of Black people as a percentage of the population than Vancouver, a major globalized multicultural city. I mean, that's quite shocking, isn't it? I mean, most people think that big cities in North America have diversity of race, and certainly more diversity of race compared to smaller centers and smaller towns. But no, it doesn't seem to be the case with Vancouver and Black people, because there's even smaller cities and towns like Kamloops that, I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm just guessing based on my walking through the street, like you just see people, that there would seem to be that there's more, as a percentage of the population, there's more Black people in Kamloops than in the city of Vancouver. Okay. So, I mean, would Adrienne Elise allow that to be said? Like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why this cannot be said. Like, I don't really get why this cannot be said. And it really was, I mean, of all the censorship that I've faced online, that would have been probably the most egregious example of all. And she supposedly stands for freedom of expression. But the most egregious censorship I ever experienced was on her channel. Like, because, I'm not even making an opinion or stating an opinion. I'm just, which is could be debatable, and some people might not want opinions, but it's just a statement of fact. Um, and she wouldn't allow that. So yeah, that's my problem with Adrienne Elise. She's she really blocked my freedom of expression and added to my isolation, which would seem to undermine so much of what she says, and over something so trivial. Like, I don't even understand what the problem would be with that statement. So I hope somehow this reaches her, and I hope somehow we can have healing as a community, all of us, all communities. I mean, not just Adrienne's group, but all of humanity needs healing, I feel. Um, so it's in that spirit that I am making this video. All right, that's all I wanted to say. Peace out.